Now, how the morning will go is that I'm going to talk about these things for a little while, then we will have a break. Then you will get into groups with some of our astrologers and talk about the spiritual meaning of Venus in your chart, the esoteric meaning of it, not just your love life. There is a tendency to look at Venus and say, you know, who do I relate to and how do I relate, and is he or she finally coming into my life? Okay, but we're looking from a slightly different angle. So I'll try to explain what that angle may be. All right. As I explained, the great solar angel is our focus. This solar angel, let's see if I can, I think I'll try to do it this way. A lot of stuff on this Fellowship of Cosmic Fire, AAB diagrams. Okay. Okay. Here's our map. And this is a little picture of the egoic lotus. This is the form which over millions of years is being built on the higher mental plane. Every one of these little sort of layers is a vibrational layer, a dimension of consciousness and a dimension of frequency. Upon the higher mental plane, your temple of Solomon is being built. This stays with you life after life. When a master wants to look at you and say, well, how are you doing? You know, what is the real development of this person? This is where they look, on the higher mental plane. The other picture of that, let's see, was this. And that's kind of a close-up of it. There's a huge study involved with this egoic lotus and all the colors that are there and all the qualities of the human being which are being unfolded gradually over millions of years. This is the true human being. You know, when you look at yourself in the spiritual mirror, this is what you look like right before the fourth initiation. The majority of us still have a few petals that may not quite be unfolded yet, nor are we necessarily shining with the full radiance of the glorious sun. But when things are just about to pop, the jewel in the lotus is revealed, the inner synthesis petals are revealed, and all of your qualities are blazing away, and you're a fully developed human being just about to undergo that joyous experience we call the crucifixion. Or the great renunciation, or the supernova of your individual identity. So we aspire to be fully unfolded in this manner. We also aspire to do the right thing at the right time, which will lead to the next level of unfoldment for us in this egoic flower. All right. So, we're searching for the internal presence of your higher self or your angel in your chart. And we are searching for the way to use the astrological chart to guide ourselves toward our next unfoldment. We are coming into contact with a being from an altogether higher hierarchy. That being is within us. This is the picture of it. These are various angelic presences, some of which go to make up the human being. We are found here. This is what our monads are like. We're called the initiates and lords of sacrifice. The solar angels have projected themselves, a fragment of themselves, down into a lower level, and they are providing a vehicle whereby spirit and matter can be connected in our nature. We are trying to put together their wisdom. Their true home is up here, but they have projected themselves below and are forming this egoic flower that we were just looking at. We are trying to bring all things together. We are trying to achieve integration. Many of us are not yet integrated people. We want to integrate within ourselves, mind, emotions, and body, and we want to integrate our personality with our soul. That's one of the things we're trying to do. So we're trying to come in alignment with this great hierarchy of solar angels, which helps us do exactly that. We want to use our rays and not be used by them. We want to use our astrological factors and not be used by them. We want to have a willful, purposeful relationship with our energy system and astrological chart. We do not want to be driven up and down the land. We want to be in control and at the center and directing the energies of our lives. This means the power of the will has to increase in all of us, especially the spiritual will. We're going to look specifically at the second ray, fifth ray nature of the solar angel. These are the brightest rays. Very interestingly, these two rays, the second ray of love, wisdom, and the fifth ray of, well, I would call it luminous intelligence, but it's also called the ray of science and the ray of concrete mind. They are the prominent rays of Sirius. There are others. There are the prominent rays of Venus. There are others. And they are prominently in the life of the solar angel. Although I have thought, and I think it's true, that there are solar angels focused on all 7 rays. They have their own ray configuration, and they associate themselves with human beings whose egoic nature is meant to be of a similar ray. But a solar angel has all the rays, and so do we. It's just a question of how to focus. When we study esoteric astrology and rayology, and now you have a chance to do both at this conference because the ray workshop and the astrology workshop are side by side and they are indispensable to each other. You are learning about your energy configuration and how to make the best of it, how to be really intelligent about what you've got and how to use it. That's what we all want to do so we become masters of our lives. So we can become the true directors of our lives and not just people that things happen to. So we're going to take a brief look at how the specific energies of the solar angel and the specific astrological energies can aid in fulfilling what we call a transcendental vision. Let's see, maybe I can do this a little, make it a little bit, I'm going to try something. Yeah, okay. The incarnational vision, a transcendent vision of what your incarnation should be. We're going to focus on Venus now. Here is the hypothesis for the rays of Venus. Every human being has a ray chart. Every planetary logos has a ray chart, including Venus. Every solar logo is the same. Every constellational logo is the same. Every being in our cosmos has the equivalent of a ray chart, meaning they will have a spirit, a soul, a kind of personality, a mind, emotions, and body, just the way we do. So the hypothesis that we're operating with at the moment for Venus is that its monad is primarily on the 6th ray at this time, and its higher spirit ray will be the ray of love wisdom, just like Sirius. It's a 2-6 monad. And what we're really focusing on during this session, because the whole conference is given to the 5th ray, the coming of the solar angels, living the science of the soul. That's the name of our conference. So we're focusing on the 5th ray, and therefore we are focusing on the 5th ray part of Venus particularly. It has loads of the soft line rays, and even the factor of harmony is very strong with Venus as well. But we're not so much focusing on that. We are focusing more on its light content, the light of the soul, how to live an illumined life, and how to eventually take the 3rd initiation, in which luminosity, the enlightenment, the satori, the great illumination, these are the factors that come into play. This is the true first initiation, and Venus presides over this initiation. That's what we want. At that time, we can begin to say we are truly human and not before. Before that, we're simply animal man. At that time, we overcome Mars and the moon, and we can say we have begun to live as a human being. And Venus, of course, is spiritually civilizing us along the way, helping us be rid of our worst Martian tendencies so we can just use them for good purposes. Mars, really, a non-sacred planet, does serve Venus, and we see that in life anyway. Okay. You know what I mean? Okay. Ah, yes, okay. So it is, it's the fifth ray we're looking at. Perhaps Venus has kind of a second ray personality. It seems to have this factor of harmonization. There's loads of second ray in it, and the beauty factor of Venus perhaps gives it a physical nature of a seventh ray. Those are not what we're focusing on entirely. It's mostly the fifth ray. It's the lighted aspect related to higher mind. And where is the higher mind? We talked about it. The higher mind is on these three subplanes. And let's see, is this the one? No, it's not the one, but here it is. Okay, I'll go to it. Yeah. We live our personality life on the lower 18 subplanes. This is where life, as we know it, is commonly expressed. We want to get beyond that. The number 18 is the number of the moon in the tarot. We want to get beyond the moon, at least the lower meaning of the moon. We want to move from the 18 into the 19. We want to move to the higher subplanes of the mind, where we begin to have what is called spiritual discernment, response to group vibration, and spiritual telepathy. These are soul powers. In other words, if we come here, we want to live as a soul. We have a lot of human problems to solve, no question about it. None of us is a completely altogether personality, perfect, you know. It's not happening yet. It will happen. But already we want to understand what it is to live as a soul. That is the purpose of a meeting like this. It's not your ordinary solve my problems astrology. That will come along too. But the more we live in accordance with what the soul within us seeks to express, the more our outer problems will be solved. And new ones will arise as challenges and opportunities. Okay. Now, the Venus experience. It is to a great extent the solar angelic experience. And Master DK said, yes, if you're a disciple, which means you finally made up your mind to do something about your spiritual life, not just when and as you wish, but you really apply your will now, then Venus becomes important in your chart in a spiritual sense, just like some of the fixed stars become important as well. It is the most luminous planet from our earthly perspective. When we're looking out at the night sky, Venus is gorgeously luminous, and that is a symbol of the luminosity we have to achieve when the higher mental plane infuses all of our normally opaque substances. We no longer want to be opaque, do we? We do not want to be opaque to the inner and higher light. We want to be translucent, and then we want to be transparent. Venus is going to help us do that. Okay. So it is the experience, you know, I'm just sharing my own views of Venus, and I'm going to ask our friends here to join in with their ideas of the spiritual nature of Venus. To me, it is under Venus, the experience of luminous unity, light-filled unity. And there's a gorgeous, it's a marvelous little phrase. It's all about let the outer glory pass away and the inner light reveal the beauty of the one, you know. Then let the soul look out upon an inner world of light divine. Venus reveals all of this. Let the beauty of the inner light reveal the one. Have you ever been to a marvelous, let's say an opera or a great movie or a concert, and you feel that behind all the things you've just heard and seen, there is this hidden beauty just existent of its own, being revealed and waiting for greater revelation. You know, some of those nights when I've seen wonderful Shakespeare comedy, you know, maybe out in a natural setting, you just get the feeling of what Shakespeare understood about life. And there was this inner light behind all that he wrote about the drama of life. This is the Venus experience to me. You know, it is a rare thing, and it makes time kind of come together. You know, the universal aspects of beauty begin to reveal themselves. So those of you who are artists and in music, you know, maybe you know what I'm talking about, and maybe we all do. Okay. So it's the light of beauty. The beauty of the inner light, let the beauty of the inner light reveal the one. It is so interesting too, because, you know, Venus is a fifth ray planet in a way. And you've all seen the tetractys, you know, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, like bowling ball, you know, bowling pins. Here's the tetractys. And right under the 1 is the 5. See, the sun, you see, if you make a straight line from the 1, you go right down to the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's right under the 1. So the sun aspect, the 5 aspect, reveals the 1. The beauty of the inner light, the light of the sun reveals the beingness, the will of the Father aspect of divinity. Let the beauty of the inner light reveal the one, let the sun reveal the Father, let the 5 reveal the one. Now that's a lot of what we're doing too. We're trying to get soul consciousness, right? We're talking about that. But beyond that soul consciousness and within it is something else. It's the presence itself. It's pure being. It's the thing we all share. I don't care what our quality may be, what we look like, what we think like, what our diversity may be. We share one thing, and that is pure being, and that is the Father aspect, and we all have that. The very fact that you are is the statement. We all share one thing in common. We are being. Okay. So with Venus comes an especial clarity of relationship, and not just superficial relationships, relationship of essence to essence. Sometimes Venus is called the quintessence, the 5th essence, the quintessence. It's an abstraction. It's like a pyramid in a way. You have the 4 points of the base, but above the pyramid rises the 1 point, which is the quintessence. So it has extracted all of beauty and value from everything that's going on in the lower part of the pyramid. It's a feeling, it's an experience of loving harmony. It has the 2nd and the 4th ray connections with it. And harmony is very pleasant, but you know, there's superficial harmonies. This is a harmony of essences. This is a real love relationship, a marriage of true minds on the higher mental plane. Venus is all this. I call it also kinship in soul with one and all. Kinship, you know, kin is you're like someone else. Kindred, you're kind, kin. We are related on the level of beauty and harmony. So who are our kin? Are they just our blood relations? Hardly that, right? Matter of fact, that's where you can find the war, right? Right in your own home with all those Martian lunar blood relations, right? But in terms of the true soul relationship, that's where the harmony can be felt. Especially starting with our soul ray groups, and eventually with all souls. It's just one soul anyway, isn't it? Okay. We learn with Venus that all things are externalizations of the light. The light is substance. We are light. The discoveries along the 5th ray line and 1st ray line have revealed that all matter is light. And that's what DK was telling us with the revelation of atomic energy and the huge power released. Matter is light. So can we see and sense the light content in each one of us, and can we liberate the hidden dark light? That's what we have to learn how to do, and that's what any master can do, and that's why they can appear and disappear at will. You know the old stories of Apollonius of Tyana. They used to say, well, who needs Jesus? We have Apollonius. Well, it turned out to be the same person. Okay. But anyway, he'd be in the middle of a court. He'd say unpleasant things. People would run toward him to grab him, and he'd just disappear. This is a mastery of light. This is an ability to create and precipitate out of the lighted world your vehicle and to dematerialize it at will. All of these cities are coming, you know, but we have to be morally okay before we can really use them. You know how the Buddha said his arhats wanted to have a holiday and make a miracle. So, he said, all right, he let him make a miracle. And then they all made their miracle, and he said, okay, now go fix it. There's a ship sinking out there. You caused it. Bring relief. A person is lost in a mountain. You caused it. Bring relief. They upset the balance. This is in the Agni Yoga books, you see. They wanted phenomenal expression. Let's do something phenomenal. You know how people say, oh, that's phenomenal. We want something noumenal, don't we? Not just phenomenal. So manipulation of phenomenal apparent reality is not what we're after. We have to have the inner core of wisdom and morality before we can tinker around with the cities, the powers. Anyway, that was the digression. All right. So we are externalizations of the light. Imagine feeling the magnetism of divine beauty. Beauty is everywhere, even in what is apparently ugly. And I think the further we go along the path, the more we realize that. These are the things that Venus means to me, and I'm just, kind of sharing them. The experience that all conflict and antagonism has been resolved in the light and that a true peace is prevailing. Venus is very common in the peace movement, especially as the upward pointed star. All right, so just for a moment, just try to, well, I'll tell you what else about Venus? First, astrologer friends, what else would you add to the spiritual nature of Venus?
Venus moves active intelligence in the form of the fifth ray and connects it to wisdom in the form of the second ray. That's part of its duality. And, in the highest levels, Venus is absorbed to find connection that way. And in this way, it relates it also to Mercury, which is higher and lower mind, which is spirit and matter. So you have first and seventh with Uranus, and then you have 4 and 5 in the center, representing the relationship, because Venus and Mercury are often considered so strongly connected. And then you have these polar first and seventh grade with Uranus.
Okay, very, very good explanation. Hello, hello. All right. Good, good, good. Let me know when you find me. Okay. So, other thoughts about the spiritual nature of Venus?
Venus reconciles the pairs of opposites upon the mental plane and creates beauty, which actually filters down to the astral plane to the more well-known interpretation of Venus.
Reconciling the pairs of opposites on the mental plane. Okay. Creating mental beauty. Okay. Good. Good. All right. Well, that's probably, that's probably enough. What I want to do relatively quickly, because I want to break this by 11 o'clock and maybe sooner. Am I good here yet? Hello? Okay, I'm on. Right. I want to, does everybody know where your Venus is? Now, you do. No? No. So raise your hand if you don't, and some ambient astrologer will help you. Anybody need a little help with their Venus? Taurus? Venus and Taurus? Okay. Any help? Right? Good? Good, good, good. Now look, long ago, Nicholas and I and a astrologer from Denmark got together and thought a lot about Venus. We got loads of stuff on Venus. But I just want to look at a couple of essentializations here about your Venus position from a spiritual point of view. Not the normal things at all. And this is just the smidgen of what it could be. Who has Venus in Aries? Okay, all right. Now I'm not going to deal here with the normal interpretations about falling in love instantly, okay? Not that. I won't talk about that. I'm just going to say a few things about the light, the fifth ray content of Venus in relation to these signs. And then when you get together with your astrologers, right after the break, we will see what it seems to mean to you. These are just my thoughts, but you have your own, and that's important. So with Venus in Aries, it's the light of the higher mind that can reveal the light of pure being. Venus is about the soul, and Aries is about God the Father aspect. We're told that Venus is in detriment in Aries because in a way the soul nature or the conscious nature falls away and pure being is revealed. So you're piercing through the disk of golden light into the presence of being. The first aspect of divinity, Aries, is expressed powerfully through the love wisdom of Venus, and the soul is acquiescing to the spiritual will. The Son or the acquiesces to the Father. It's a bit of not my will but thine be done. The Father aspect is represented by Aries. Okay, who has Venus in Taurus? Okay? All right, it's not just love of sweets. Okay. That's good too, yes? Okay. The registration of all material phenomena as essentially light. A beam of glamour-destroying light from the Ajna center. Because Taurus is the sign of luminosity, the fifth ray is involved. You train that beam of light on the astral plane and destroy those forms which magnetize you to that particular world of form instead of releasing you into the world of higher beauty. There's a lot of beauty in this particular combination, the transmutation of desire, ordinary desire, into aspiration for the light. These are just a few things, there's 30 of them that we can discuss, but you can think about that. There's great beauty in this combination, and it has much to do with music and art and so forth. Who has Venus in Gemini? Okay, right, it's not just love letters. Okay. It is that too. Okay, harmonious relationships between the brothers in the light. In other words, like I think Philip was talking about, what do you say, reconciling the opposites upon the mental plane. Well, the opposites are also, in a way, the part of the mind that has to do with personality and the part of the mind that has to do with soul. And there's a magnetic rapport that pulls these two things together. It really pulls soul and personality together so they can, they need to be a little higher perhaps, so that they can manifest in a loving relationship, soul and personality in a loving relationship. It's the science, fifth ray, of soul-personality relationships and all of the magnetism that can exist between these two. I'll give you all these notes. If you want them, I'll just send them to you, okay? So, all right. Who has Venus in Cancer? Home sweet home. Eating sweets at home. No, it's more than that. Okay. DK says it actually makes the mind the servant of the personality. He doesn't give it such a good rap, but basically, let's just say the personality is filled with elementals. It's got a physical, emotional, and mental elemental nature. They are lower involutionary lives, and Venus redeems all that. The darkened chamber of the personality and its elementals becomes illumined. So it's like having a light in a dark house. The greater light of the fifth ray reveals the nature of the dark light of matter. So you know how Cancer hides the light in a way, and Venus comes there and makes this vessel luminous. So, you know, whatever you consider your home, you can illuminate it and make it beautiful and radiant through the power of Venus, okay? And I've seen, there's a lot of love in the home with these people. Venus in Leo, it's not just jewelry. Who has it? Okay. I've seen it, they like to wear things. It's and they also like to look in the mirror. A little. Well, then who doesn't? All right. Appreciation of the luminosity of the higher self. The union of the light of the soul and the light of the concrete mind. This is very fifth ray. This is very, very bright. Because Leo is a fifth ray sign as well as a first ray, as you know, and Venus is the fifth ray planet. And also it's got a lot of second ray in it. It's very magnetic. But we're not talking about the magnetism. We're talking about the mental part of this. It's discriminating using the fifth ray. What is the true ego and what is the apparent ego? Do you love yourself as you seem to be, or do you love the self as it is? What is the real identity here? What do you think you are? Who do you think you are? The old saying, who do you think you are? But that's a really good question. Who do you think you are? That's the basis of so many things. So it's the radiance and glory of the soul. It does make radiant people, of course. But what we're interested in is this radiance on the higher mental plane. And when you get that brightest of all planets, along with Leo, the most glorious of all signs. Who's a Leo here? The most glorious of all signs, yes. Okay, then you really get a display of light. Okay, Venus in Leo, a lot of fifth ray. Venus in Virgo. Oh my goodness. Well, excuse me, I better straighten up here. You have Venus, I know. No, I'm in Taurus, Venus in Taurus. Okay, the beauty of nature's particular designs. Here we have all of the forms of nature, all of the precision of form and the beauty of the precision of form. It's knowing how to transmute material energy into soul energy. Virgo, let matter reign. It captures the material energy, and when Venus comes along, it lifts these energies into the soul state. It's also a tremendous service of the soul to the lower life forms, because it falls Venus falls in the sign Virgo. The solar angel has fallen down for service purposes into the realm of matter to lift up all of these material lives. There's a very strong service purpose here as well as, I imagine, I don't know, I think that Venus and Pisces people would make great watercolorists, but I imagine that Venus and Virgo, when they were little, they didn't want their colors to run into each other. They just keep the line, keep the discrimination. Maybe they even sorted their food out on their plate according to colors. I don't know. Anyway, the science of releasing the Christ consciousness from the grip of material forces. I'm talking about high things now, but I'm assuming that we all aspire to high things. I'm assuming that. I'm assuming that the people who are in this room are tired of living strictly as personalities. Am I mistaken? See me later. All right. Venus in Libra. Who has? Okay, it's said to be a nice position. It's a ruling. The revelation of true relationship based on soul patterns. Not just I like you, you like me, we're attracted to each other. It's our souls are coming into union through harmony. So there's a great beauty possible here. Keen discrimination between the pairs of opposites, the soul and personality, and between men and women, of course, and the light which reveals with exactitude the difference between things and the way they can fuse accordingly between the pairs of opposites. It's the union of love and wisdom. It's the light of the soul upon the spiritual path. It keeps you going on the spiritual path because that beam of light on the path, Libra is the path, you don't want to get off that, and Venus is the illumining beam. So it is right at that point when you're discriminating between soul values and personality values. Venus is the planet of values, of course, and it needs much discrimination to learn what are true soul values. Who has Venus in Scorpio? Okay, right. Okay, they say fatal attraction. Anyway, it is, but it's very good. It's like Christ going down into hell, I mean, everyone, Venus and Scorpio, at some time in your life you find out what hell is, okay? the destruction of Maya and glamour through a beam of light. It is really de-glamorization. You know, there's all of these forms of illusion and all of these attractions into the lower world and then temptations. And finally, you apply that fifth ray beam and you decide it's not worth it. You know, that comes later. Okay. The Christ nature which brings love into the lower worlds of vice and entrapment. The harrowing of hell, you might say. Venus, the soul, comes down into this world where all the vices are rampant and extricates you through the power of love. So, you know, you can love totally horrible things at first, and then you see beauty in even those horrible things. It's a great position. It's said to be weakened, but not weakened in a higher sense. Okay. Who has Venus in Sagittarius? Okay. My love is always in another country. So, and I've got to go there and find out. Okay. It's the great quest for discovery of that which lies beyond the lower 18 subplanes. It's the quest for the soul, quest for the higher mind. One sets one's sights upon the soul and discovering its nature. And, you know, in a way, you see the beauty of other cultures and other places. You want to go there, you want to study it. I sometimes call it the National Geographic consciousness. You know, there's so many beautiful places, and you want to see the beauty, and actually you want to study what it's all about. So it's the union of the higher mind and the abstract mind becomes possible under this Venus position. Anybody else have anything to say about Venus and Sagittarius? It's a great position. You will find your love in South America. It's so Sagittarian, you know, with a guitar. All right. Anybody like flamenco? We ought to have a flamenco dance thing here. All right. Anyway, Venus in Capricorn. Who has that? All right. Well, that's a nice high position, you know. A taste of the light sublime and of the light supernal. The higher mind and the higher fifth ray are now in control. So really, this is beauty upon the mountaintop. You know, it means many other things. I mean, I won't even get into all those other things that it means. What else do we want to say about Venus in Capricorn and its spiritual nature? Guys, anything? Venus in Capricorn? One of those things, you know. Anyway, glory on the mountaintop, okay? This is the ruler of the third initiation. This is how it, you know, when you climb the mountain of karma, the light of the ajna center is blended with the light of the top of the head, and Venus is the ajna center, and Vulcan comes down, and the blaze of light in your head. This is the beginning of the light sublime. So it's a very lighted experience. And it also shows you that the soul has to be found upon the summit. So it is a climb. You know, you really have to, through labor and effort, you have to rise to that beauty. Okay. All right. Venus in Aquarius. Hey, friends. Okay. Yes? Peter, yes. Go ahead, Peter, please.
Something to say about Venus and Capricorn.
Please.
It's probably the light that illuminates the pure nature of spiritual love at the mountaintop.
The true nature of spiritual love at the mountaintop.
Because it's the hierarchical ruler.
Hierarchical ruler, exactly. Very high position. You know how it goes with ordinary rulers, esoteric rulers, and hierarchical rulers. Venus is the highest ruler of Capricorn. Okay. Yes, all these things you can discuss together when you're in your groups, all right? All right. So Venus in Aquarius, the true friend, okay? It's the revelation not only of the love that is inherent in monadic brotherhood, but it's the scientific nature of brotherhood. Brotherhood as a fact. The fifth ray and the fifth ray. Aquarius, the fifth ray, and Venus, the fifth ray. Okay. You know, it's also, you know, this whole question about friends and lovers. You know, I think there's a book by that name, isn't there? D.H. Lawrence or something? I don't know. Anyway, he was on the proscribed list. I never read him. You have to be older to know what this joke is. All right. It's seeing through the illusory nature of all but soul-spirit relationships. You know how impersonal Aquarius people can be. So they tend not to become so emotionally involved. The relationships that we're talking about here are spirit and soul relationships. They also are great bringers of group harmony. I found that to be the case, but that's not so much on the fifth ray. It is the science of the soul. This is what I think will happen here. The fifth ray of Aquarius and the fifth ray of Venus will reveal the science of the soul. All right, and finally, Venus in Pisces. Anybody? Only a couple, okay. Well, it is a beautiful exalted position here. It's the union of light and love. It's the relationship between hierarchy and Shambhala. It's the revelation of the light of synthesis, and it's the union of Manas and Buddhi. There are also many wonderful greeting cards which are kind of blurring the images, and they look ever so attractive. But that's not the fifth ray part of Venus and Pisces. It's a very strong high love connection. What were you saying about the union of intelligence and love? Very much so with Venus and Pisces. Are there any questions? You all have a Venus, correct? And you have a sense maybe now of its spiritual, its spiritual meaning. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to, are there any questions? Why? Okay. That is the big question. We're going to take a little break. By the way, would you like to add anything before we take our break?
Has a lot to do with the unconditional love and compassion through understanding. So
through understanding.
Ray.
Exactly. So it blends that idea of really being able to see with clarity and know what is the condition of others. You know, you're not missing anything, but still the love and compassion are there. You know, usually when you think about Venus and Pisces, it has a very strong second ray, sixth ray connotation. It's really on the love aspect, but the intelligence of Venus is so luminous and so clear. And you know, for a compassionate person, it doesn't mean you're blind or unthinking, not at all. So you can see the limitations and still love and have compassion. As a matter of fact, that's the name of the game, isn't it? The more you really see and understand what the limitations are, the more you really, the compassion is fed. All right, now we're going to take a little break, maybe, I don't know, 12 minutes, something like that. Oh, there are going to be announcements, yes, before the break. And then we'll come back and we'll get into smaller groups and we'll discuss Venus in your life with the astrologers, okay? But before we leave, how many are going to be, now I think, Dave, you're not working on this one, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 groups. So you ought to be able to get into things quite deeply. Now, I think we won't have to make that decision immediately. Just divide yourselves fairly equally. Don't all, for instance, go to Lawson. I mean, you can go to Lawson, but don't all go to Lawson. And you know, divide yourself equally among the astrologers, and then discuss your chart. And those of you who have not yet had your chart printed out, Morya, we will try to do that here in the break. All right? Announcements.